can't eat it. Hello and Merry Christmas! Oh, it's so good to see all of you guys today, and I can't wait to read your sweet comments. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful time with your family today. I'm filming this just a little bit early. I will be hanging out with Vince and Beth, my brother and his wife, in my home here in Mena on actual Christmas Day. But if y'all are really, really sweet, I might be able to convince them to sit in and we can film the next Financial Friday question video while they're here. So if y'all have any questions for them, ask them below, because they're just awesome. They're the ones that got me into Dave Ramsey. They recently paid off their house. They are sinking funding a new roof and planning on moving to a new place soon. They'll of course pay off their mortgage on that house early too. They are just fantastic with money. They taught me everything about like stockpiling food, that kind of thing, and Beth has taught me like half of my recipes on how to cook. So they have been incredibly essential to my debt-free journey, and they are my biggest supporters. So if you have any questions for them, they know everything. Just like everything, ask those below, and I will try to get them to sit in on a Financial Friday questions video while they are here over the weekend, and we'll answer them. So, and if they decide not to, then I'm just lying. But Beth said that they would be okay with that. All right, let's jump in. S Castle 05 asks, if money was no object, what would your dream Christmas list be? Both to get and to give to others. Merry Christmas, Budget Girl. Little stuff first. I love candles and bath stuff. I usually don't buy that kind of stuff for myself because it just falls outside of the budget, but I'd get a whole bunch of that. And I'd love to get out of debt. That's a big thing. Yeah, if money was no object, I would get myself out of debt for Christmas. That would be amazing. And another big thing, I would love to go see my best friend Jamie in California. She has been living in LA for a couple of years now. I haven't seen her. She came down once to visit me in Hammond, but I just can't afford to get out there, and it's just a lot of money to sinking fund to get out there and visit her. I would love to see LA. I've never been to California, and mostly I'd love to see her and her husband and their dogs. I love their dogs and cats. So that would, yeah, a plane ticket to California would be high on my Christmas list. And to give to others, I would love to pay for Vince and Beth's roof. They are saving like 10 grand right now to get a new roof for their house, and then they're going to get a new house, and I'd love to get those things for them. This has become kind of a lottery list. Yeah, so if none of that were available, candles and bath stuff. So I like it. All right, Megan Betchnell again asked, do you keep receipts for tax purposes since they are often business related, or are all business gas expenses reimbursed? Also, at year's end, do you reconcile everything and file your own taxes? I have yet to find itemized effective. I paid to have mine done 1 year, and I'm still lost with what she did, and it costs a lot. Okay, one at a time. I save receipts that are for anything business related, and I do get reimbursed through my work. I think it's like 28 cents a mile, so I log any work travel, and I get reimbursement for that. The government will reimburse you above that if you qualify for itemizing, so I always make a copy of my gas reimbursement form and keep that in a folder all year, and then I give it to my tax person every single year. I put all this stuff together. Anytime I have to get like a new laptop or camera or something like that, I'll put it on there. Anything potentially work related, moving expenses will go in my folder this year. I made a copy of all of that stuff. I have also yet to make it above the $7,000 general deduction, but 1 year I might, and then I'll get more money back. So I always save that kind of stuff. I keep what I call an emergency binder, and it has all copies of my birth certificate, driver's license, all my insurance paperworks, everything like that, all my health records, and that is the thing that I grab in case there's a fire. I also have a digitized copy of it in my safe. Maybe I can go through that one day and show you guys how to do that. It is a long process of scanning everything. I also have like all my old family photos scanned on there, and I keep a miniature jump drive copy in the folder. I also keep one on my keyring, and it is encrypted. And I'm starting to sound a little paranoid here, but I believe in duplicity. So I also have one at Vincent Best's house in Jackson, Mississippi, and I have everything saved on a external hard drive in a safe, in a fireproof, waterproof safe in my home. So, yeah, I will never be the victim of any Katrina-like thing again. Because remember, I lived in Long Beach, Mississippi when Katrina hit, where the eye of the storm hit. I lost too much stuff, and I had friends and family that lost too much stuff down there. I will always keep ridiculous records for the rest of my life. So yes, I do save receipts for that purpose. After my taxes are done for the year, though, all actual like receipts get thrown away. Any bank statements, stuff like that, the only thing I save are the taxes and any essential paperwork like insurance paperwork, health records, that kind of thing. All right. The year's end, do I reconcile everything and file my own taxes? I reconcile everything at the end of each month, and then at the end of the year, I go over the whole year and try to look for any trends. If I'm busting my grocery budget every single month, then for the next year, I probably need to change my budget. So, yeah, I don't really reconcile the entire year against some form from the beginning of the year. I just look at everything I did that year and then try to make a new budget with new goals and change anything I need to that's not working. And I don't do my own taxes. This is, I hate to admit this, but I don't. I just go to like an H&R Block or a similar place. It usually costs about $100. I do not regret going to an accountant to do all of this. They always find more deductions, and it pays for itself, basically. What was it? And you can also deduct it off of the next year's taxes if you end up itemizing. I've never had enough deductions to itemize, but one day I will. I have like a house and stuff like that. So yeah, keep your receipts. Don't go hoarder crazy on them, but go be careful. All right. Owl, you need his health. I like that name. Asks, I had a question regarding YouTube earnings also. I love that you include it in your budget reports, but I've watched other YouTubers who say they're not allowed to discuss what they make on YouTube. Do you know if it's only people that are signed to a network or whatever they're called that aren't allowed to talk about it? Really love these Q&A videos. Yay! Okay, so I had to do some research on this because, and I did this when I decided to disclose my YouTube earnings once I actually started making YouTube earnings. And there are certain things that you are not allowed to tell, and it's basically what the advertisers are paying per view zone. And you can see that within your YouTube channel accounts. I think it's called ad view, RPM, CPM, something like that. And that is what you are not allowed to tell. I cannot tell you about networks because I don't belong to a network. I've had many, many offers to join a network, but I don't particularly feel like giving an extra 20% of my earnings to someone else in return for them possibly promoting my channel and getting better ads. I'm fine sticking with Google AdSense for right now. I may eat my words in the future. I don't know. I just don't think I'm going to get any sort of personalized attention in return for that money I'm giving away. So, the contracts that I signed with AdSense and Google, and it's one of those like terms and conditions things that, and I've read through them, and you are allowed to say what you make. I'm pretty sure there isn't a law anywhere that says you can't disclose what you make. That's a personal decision. You can't disclose how much advertisers are paying you per ad, or how much Google is paying you per ad. And it makes sense if you think about it, because then all of a sudden they have no negotiating power, or they have less negotiating power with advertisers. I doubt with a channel as small as mine that it would make any difference. But no, I'm not going to tell you my RPM, mostly because I barely understand it and you wouldn't care. But I can tell you how much I make. Every time Google cuts me a check, I can say, hey, I made $350 last month, which I did. Thank you so much. I got my check the other day for November, and I was stoked. That is so cool. Thank you so much for watching and liking and sharing and everything. So, networks may make you sign something that say you don't disclose how much you make, but that wouldn't really make a ton of sense either. But since I'm not joining a network, I'm happy to tell you. And I've been doing this for a while, and Google's never gotten on me. I know there are some other YouTubers, like Mike and Lauren, that always disclose their YouTube income. Never been an issue. I think most people just decide not to because it's a personal thing, and that's completely their prerogative. I just happen to really like being an open book about finances. So as until they send me a cease and desist order or something, and they shouldn't because I didn't sign anything saying I wouldn't disclose, I'm going to keep telling you what I make. So there you go. Owl, you need his help. Hulda 2002 says, I've been thinking about baby step 6. I'm not there yet. This is really fun to play with. Sorry. Hulda. I'm focused. I'm focused now. Hulda 2002 says, I've been thinking about baby step 6. I'm not there yet. Should you pay into the debt with the lowest amount or the fewest due dates? That's not baby step 6. That's baby step 2. So I'm a little confused. She says, my lowest loan amount has over 340 due dates, but the loan with the fewest due dates is 154. Unless this is paying off your house. In which case, yes, that's a later baby step. And it shouldn't really matter. You should approach that just as you would baby step 2, where you pay the lowest amount first. It doesn't really matter how many payment dates you have left, because if you're doing this plan, you're trying to pay things off as fast as possible, so the due dates don't matter, really. I mean, you have to get the bill in there on time, but if you're following this plan, then you're paying as much as you can to your debts, smallest to largest. So I would assume the one with 154 due dates is a smaller debt than the 340, and you would attack that 154 first, and you pay as much as you can to that, and within a couple of months it's not going to be 154 anymore because you're paying ahead on it and you're trying to get out of debt, whether it's your house or whatever. So pay your smallest debt first, disregard the amount of due dates you have left, is what I would do. All right. Living Weird says, if you can fully fund an envelope for the year on January 1st, would you do it or just put the monthly amount in each month? Okay. I had to think about this for a second. And if you can fully fund that envelope, the only reason I can think why you wouldn't, if you just have the funds sitting around, wouldn't those funds go to your debt, though? Is my question. People sinking fund because, there's something coming up and they're trying to plan for it ahead of time. And so you're putting in as little as possible. And the reason you're putting in as little as possible to sinking funds instead of just, hey, I got a paycheck, it's, there's $300 more than we need to live on this month, why don't we put it there, is because you're working towards being debt free. And I've watched your channel, so I'm pretty sure you're working to pay off debts. So that would mean that you'd want to put the money towards debt now to eliminate future interest. So if you have just extra money sitting around now, put that towards debt, sinking fund for this bill in the future. And make sure you have enough time to get that covered. If you don't, for some reason, think you're going to have enough time, if you think something's going to happen, then maybe go ahead and set that aside. But your interest on your debt is accruing a lot faster than interest in savings accounts. So I would put that money towards your debt, and then figure out how much money you're going to need for that bill, divide it by however many months you have until you have to pay the bill, put aside that amount every month. And then anything you have extra each month, go ahead, throw it towards debt, get rid of it, get less interest accruing. It's amazing. All right. Maria Hurley says, do you include your Christmas child shoebox in your tithing amount, or is it in addition? I'd suggest that if you aren't, start. It's a donation, and I'm sure there are more of them than that you do occasionally or would like to do. Do you toss some change into a Salvation Army bucket? Buy a candy bar from a Girl Scout fundraiser? If you kept 10% of your 10%, that could be your non-church charity giving. If you feel it should just be church-based, feel free to ignore. Good question. I actually do my Christmas child shoebox on top of my tithe. And there were a lot of comments all over the place last week on my tithing question video. And I just wanted to say I was not telling anyone what they should do with their money. I realize that's part of what I do here. I answer questions how I would do them if I were presented with that situation. But in no way please, in no way think that I was saying you should tithe or you're a bad Christian if you don't tithe. This is a very personal thing. I believe tithing is a very personal thing, and I was asked how I personally, what I do with my tithe, how I tithe, if I'd consider stopping it, that kind of thing. Now, what I do is not necessarily what you would want to do. And your reasons are completely different than mine, and I completely respect your reasons and your opinions. This is how I feel I should do things. And that is between me and my pastor and God. And that's it. So I hope you understand. I'm not judging any of you. I'm not telling you any of you what to do with tithe money, church money, charity giving. I would never. That's not my place. I don't have enough education in that subject to do that, and I don't think that I am the person that would pass. I'm not in a position to pass judgment on anyone. Tithing is between you and God. Any sort of charity giving is completely within your own heart. So within my own heart, I do extra charity giving on top of my tithe, and that was a decision I made following a discussion with a pastor who gave me reasons to why I should do that. That your tithe should be separate than any other charity giving, and that you shouldn't hold back. Once again, this is completely just how I do things, not telling you what to do with your tithe, not passing judgment. Please understand that I'm just answering questions about how I give and how I spend my money. I would never ever tell you what to do. So, and that, I don't usually put change in Salvation Army buckets because my budget's very tight, and anytime I just randomly decide to give money away, I have to reconcile that in my budget. So, and that's really annoying. So my giving is pre-planned. And one of the things that I pre-plan is Operation Christmas Child, because I love doing that every year. And I put away $4 a month. That's it. $4 a month to a sinking fund. And then in November, I pull that out and I buy all the stuff for Operation Christmas Child. And it brings me such joy to do every year. I have so much fun. So, yeah. And if I buy a candy bar from a Girl Scout fundraiser, that comes out of my grocery fund because it's food and I eat it. So, no, I don't give within my tithe other than to the church. Though I have in the past, if I wasn't a member of a church, I've given my tithe other places that I felt like God was leading me to. I've given my tithe to St. Jude before because I wasn't a member of a church, and I prayed about it and I felt good about it. And that's all it's about, is if you feel good about what you're doing with any sort of charitable giving money, and it's between you and God. So I hope you guys understand, and I hope none of you are mad at me for answering that. Some of you think that the money I give to my tithe is insane, and okay, that's fine. It's a personal decision. So now if you think my grocery spending is insane, and you can tell me why, I'll probably give just a little bit more weight to that. But once again, personal decision, me the man. So, alrighty. Bueno Bear says, my husband gets paid every fortnight, but I'm very keen to start monthly budgeting to get the extra 2 pay periods. My question is how you split your pay packets, i.e. what comes out of the first pay and the second pay. Alright, and then Happy Budgeter answered her. not speaking for Budget Girl, but I couldn't wrap my mind around the monthly budget when we get paid every 2 weeks, so we started budgeting 2 weeks at a time. The day before payday, I make sure I have basically $0. If there's still money, I make sure it's already set aside with a specific purpose. Sorry. Much better. All right. You can totally budget 2 weeks at a time, 1 week at a time, 2 months at a time, whatever works for you. That's absolutely fantastic. What I think Bruno Bear was asking, though, is, and there's a thing going around, or it has been going around, and I've done a video on it before. It's how to hack your budget to get 2 free paychecks. And all that is if you have a little bit of a misconception about it, is people that get paid twice a month, or I'm sorry, every 2 weeks, not twice a month, get 2 paychecks most months of the year, and then 2 months of the year they'll get 3 just because of where the 3 Fridays fall. And depending on whether you get paid the first or the second week of January is going to depend if you get your money in like March and October or like July and November. That doesn't really matter. But basically what you do is, instead of budgeting, instead of budgeting for every paycheck that you get, like the Happy Budgeter said, every 2 weeks, you budget for 2 paychecks a month, and that's it. So that means that twice a month, all of your expenses and all of your bills will come out, and then you'll get that 3rd paycheck. And you can technically use that paycheck to do whatever you want with, because you're only budgeting for 50 weeks of the year. Yeah, 48 weeks of the year. Yeah, 48 weeks of the year, 2 paychecks a month. What happens, though, is, and I did this, I get paid twice a month now, not every 2 weeks. I get paid on the 15th and 30th, so I don't get to hack my paycheck, my budget anymore. But when I was every 2 weeks, because you're making a big payment with your 3rd paycheck, things are going to be a little lean. Like, you have to have a little bit of a buffer in your bank account, because you'll say it's January and you get that 3rd paycheck in January. So the first week of January, or the last week of December probably, you'll get your paycheck and you'll pay all the bills for the beginning of the month, like your rent, anything that comes out within the first week or so. And then on like the 15th, you'll get your first paycheck, and that'll pay for kind of the rest of the bills of the month. And then on the 30th, you'll get your 3rd paycheck, and you can use that to make a giant payment to your student loans, which is awesome. But, if you had been using the last paycheck of the previous month to pay for the bills for the beginning of the month, and that's kind of how your pay cycle works, that's how you spend your money, then you're not going to have that money there to pay your rent and your other first of the month bills. So if you have, you'll get the money because you're budgeting for 2 paychecks a month. It'll just take 2 weeks. And then it'll basically take a month and a half for it to catch back up, because the weeks will pop back up again. But you have to have a little bit of buffer in your checking account to do that. I will link the video I did below, how to hack your paycheck to get how to hack your budget to get 2 free paychecks. I'm dying here today. Maybe that can help you out. It's really cool. It's really fun to be able to make that giant payment. You do have to really watch your spending, though, because all that money's coming in. It's just coming in later in the month than you usually have it. So you have to watch not to overspend on groceries, and you have to already have that money in your account for rent and other stuff. So it's an awesome thing. I encourage anyone to do it if they get paid twice a month, because it's basically you're making yourself save 2 paychecks a year by budgeting for only 2 paychecks a month instead of for 52 weeks a year. But you can also just change your budget to, you can budget per week or per month or per whatever works for you. All right. Okay. Bueno Bear also asks, how can you elaborate on how you deal with overspending when you reconcile your budget? I'm very good at making the budget, but I always overspend and use money from other categories, and I've never reconciled. Okay, I can't believe I've never talked about this before, because reconciling is the key to a working budget, and this is what I used to not do either. I'd make the budget at the beginning of the month, and then I just spend. Excuse me. I'd spend, and then I knew I went over, so I'd never go back to the budget and reconcile. So what I do is say I go over $5, $10 in my grocery budget. I see that at the end of the month when I'm ready to make my student loan payment, which is the last bill that I do because that's where all of my extra money goes since I'm trying to get out of debt. After I've paid everything, rent, electricity, food, blah, 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 and I'm reconciling at the end of the month. If I've gone over in a category, that means I have to change something at the end of the month. That's the key. Now, say I went over in grocery by $10, but I spent $8 under in restaurant. So that means that I can take the $8 that I didn't spend in restaurant and use that to cover the groceries. Then I've got $2 left. What do I do with that? That money has to come from somewhere. It doesn't just... So, if I have spent every single thing and there's nothing left in any category that my bill came in under or something, and this could happen with your electricity too. I've come home to a bill that was, $30 more than what I budgeted for electricity. You have to take that from somewhere else. So since my very last bill of the month, which is my student loan, if I can't get that money that I have left, that $2 from somewhere in the budget, I have to take it out of what I'm going to pay on my student loan. And that's what you have to do. So, yeah, sometimes maybe you have to take it out of savings or whatever your goals are. But that you can't just ignore that money. So that's what I do at the end of every month is I go through and I check my bank account and I look at all my transactions and I make sure I haven't missed anything. And if I go over, I have to penalize myself and I get to pay less to my debt because I was irresponsible during the month. Now, if you happen to have been awesome that month and I was $10 under on my grocery and my electricity bill came in and it was $20 light, if I decide not to take that extra electricity money and put it in a fund for sometime when my thing is over, but let's just go with variable expenses here. Say I went under $10 on my grocery budget, under $10 in restaurant, under $20 in personal money. That's $40 that I didn't spend that month that I get to put to debt, which is awesome. And I promise you, it's way better than having to take money out of your budget to pay off debt. It's way better to put money in the budget to pay off debt rather than have to take it out. But either way, at the end of the month, it has to be zero. That's what Dave says, a zero-based budget. And that's what I follow. So income minus expenses equals zero. And that sounds awful. It seems like you're never going to make any leeway. You're never going to get to move forward if you do that. But expenses can also be debt repayment, savings. It's just that every dollar that comes in has to have a name. So if you're going to save money, you have to put it in your budget to save it. And if you blow your budget somewhere else, you might not get to save as much. If you, or you might not get to pay off as much debt. But yeah, that's the trick to reconciling. And to keeping a working budget is to make it zero at the end of the day. So, and I've had times before where I've had to take out $50, $100. You know, $50 or $100 out of my debt repayment, and I promise you, it hurts like hell. Because I'm sitting there and I'm making my spreadsheet work, and I click over to Great Lakes because everything that I make, I budget $500 a month to my student loans. Anything I make on YouTube goes to my student loans. Any side gigs goes to student loans. Any extras goes there. And I've got this little list at the bottom of my budget that says, $500 budgeted, this much, this much, this much, this much, and I've got this awesome total there. I get to put $987 to student loans this month. That is amazing. And then I look up at the top bar where it says I'm over $23. Now I have to subtract that $23 from that $987, and I only get to put in $953. So I'm that much further away. It's a self-punishment thing. I could have put in 987 and I was only able to put in like 953 because I couldn't tell myself no. And you learn. I think that's how I learned to stop overspending, because you beat yourself up when you think about what you could have paid to the loan and how much more debt you could have gotten yourself out of versus, I stopped at McDonald's. Because at the end of the month, you're not tasting the McDonald's anymore. So, thank you for asking that question. That's something I've never addressed, and I feel bad about it. Yes, awesome. Thank you. Castangi. No, we're going to skip that. We're going to do that next week. It's not Christmas related. I saw Christmas. Linda Wilson says, since you read and write a lot, do you do any personal journaling or creative writing? Have you ever been published aside from the newspapers for whom you worked? Yes, I've been published in a couple different places. Like fiction journals, mostly in college, that kind of thing. I've had several pieces published. And I do keep a personal journal. I have for years. In fact, I'm going to show you guys something cool, because it's Christmas. All right. You see that shelf right there? These are all journals. I have journals all the way from over there to right here, and those are my Bibles. These are from even when I was a really little kid. I'll show you one. I've always kept journals, sometimes sporadically, sometimes awesome every day. This one. That's me. Wait, let's see how old I was. Sarah Wilson, 1000 Saratoga Drive. Age 12. And then I scratched it out and put 13. I had terrible spelling as a child. And I'm so glad I used to to put pictures in. Because that's me. And that was my best friend Elizabeth. And, I hate my mom. Oh goodness. These things are hilarious. And I just write the weirdest things. And you guys ever have one of those little, what are those cameras? Or like this, and they just printed out little mini Polaroids. I think apparently I had this at camp. I'd write down license plates I saw, dreams I had, little drawings, and oh my goodness. I wrote in color markers, life is cruel. I was a very angsty 13-year-old, apparently. Good Lord. Yeah, sometimes I go back and read these. They're really funny. I've always kept journals. I love being able to go back and realize that things that I thought were the end of the world are not the end of the world and have never been. I just, writer. So, yeah, I'm always picking up little journals and keeping them. Right now, I'm almost done with one. It looks just like this, but it's blue. And this one, this one was from the beginning of this year, actually, and it's full. Let's see. I finished it in May. So January to May. Sometimes I can't fill a whole journal in 5 months, but sometimes I can. It really depends on where I am in life. Oh, look. This is the balloon from when I paid off my $4,000 student loan. I taped it in here. It says freedom. So, yeah, I've just always been a journaler. So even sometimes a lapsed journaler. I'll go a year without writing, then write every day for a month. So, yeah, there you go. I hope that answers your question. That was kind of fun. You got to see a picture of me when I was 13, which I was hoping no one would see pictures of me when I was 13. I had a really big forehead because it was pre-bangs. Anyway, I hope all of you have a wonderful Christmas, and I was hoping to make this video a little bit shorter so you could get back to spending time with your families, but maybe you're hiding from your families because they're annoying you, in which case you might be glad that this is a 30-minute video. So everyone have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. I will see you soon, most likely with a lot of delicious Christmas leftovers as a meal plan. Happy holidays. Bye. Don't forget to ask your questions for me and my family members below. Bye.